The PL Show is brought to you by Kel Charcoal, Kel 360, and Kel Kids Toothpaste.
There you are. I'm glad I could catch you today. This is the PL Show. My name is Keminni Amanor, and today on the show we'll be talking to a wonderful woman who has years of experience in the healthcare sector. She's worked many years in England's NHS, and she's very passionate about innovative, cost-effective, and inclusive healthcare. The PL Show is brought to you by the Kel toothpaste brands, Kel Charcoal, Kel 360, and Kel Kids. Kel Happy Smile. My costume is kind courtesy Anna Simba by Zita. I'll be right back with the PL Show.
Mommy.
Michelle say, fe. Ah. Yum.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, Sankofa,
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy Smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to the Kel Toothpaste PL Show. Today we're talking to a phenomenal woman who's making strides in the healthcare sector in England, and she'll tell us her story here. So let's get right into it. Thank you so much for joining us here, Adanna.
You're most welcome. It's an honor and a privilege to be included in such a wonderful program.
Yeah, and you're here for holidays.
I am.
This is also your second time in Ghana.
Yes, it is.
Why do you come to Ghana?
I absolutely love it here. So I initially came with my very best friend who has adopted me as a sister, and she is of Ghanaian heritage. So she invited me along in 2019 to join her and her family here, and I fell in love. I say to people when they ask me, the love was guttural and instinctive. So since then, I was determined to come back, but COVID had other plans.
Yes, and we'll talk about your work during COVID as well. But
Yes.
that love for Ghana also stems from the fact that you're originally from Trinidad and Tobago, although you were born in England.
Yes, that's correct.
So tell us about that heritage and how it connects to Ghana.
My grandmother on my father's side, she is of Bayesian heritage, and I know that historically we know that Barbados was one of the main gateways during the slave trade. And I remember my grandmother talking about her father, who used to be a plantation owner. So it was interesting. I sort of maybe started connecting the dots and perhaps maybe need to do a little bit more digging into my ancestry, but I don't know if that's the reason why I feel this affinity to Ghana. But and also there are so many similarities here with Ghana and my culture in Trinidad and Tobago. We've retained a lot of it. In, for instance, our food, some of our celebrations, and the way we treat and interact with each other, it's very similar.
So what's your favorite food in Ghana?
Oh, so my favorite food, I'm a very simple lady. So groundnut soup and omotoe is one of my favorites. I do like wachi, and I do like kelewele sometimes as
Because
well.
those are very similar to food you have,
Yes.
you know,
But
in Trinidad.
they have different names, but they're very, very similar, prepared quite similarly as well. And some of the things that tend to be typical of your food is what we also use. So we use a lot of black-eyed peas, we use a lot of smoked and dried fishes and stuff in some of our dishes, and we also use a lot of ground roots like yam and cassava and different things for our meals in Trinidad. So there is a lot of parallels there.
Let's talk about growing up.
Yes.
What was it like for you as a child?
So I'm the first of four, 2 boys, 2 girls. The other girl is the baby. And I was always told by my father, you are a leader, be a leader, remember your brothers and sisters are looking to you. So I always had a sense of purpose and recognized that I needed to set the path for my siblings. So I was very much that, and I literally took that and ran with it. So I was always at the top of my class, teacher's pet. I had lots of friends that used to play netball and get involved in lots of other extracurricular activities, like acting and drama and singing and dancing. So yes.
Sounds fun, doesn't it?
Yes, it was.
And you sound like you're also nostalgic about your childhood right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel really fortunate to have the kind of childhood I did, because now with the modernization of everything, some of those things that were typical for us, they're losing. Now the average young person, they sit around with their laptops and whatever.
smartphones.
Exactly. We was running in the streets barefoot and riding bikes and climbing trees, and you don't really see it quite as much. So,
True. Tell me about that firstborn experience, because when you're the first child, and like you said, your parents wanted you to set an example for your younger siblings. How much of a pressure was it for you as a child?
Do you know, there were times when I felt it more than others. I believe more so, not so much with the siblings, but you know, and I know it's typical too in African heritage, where there is that comparison sometimes you have with some of your extended families. So, you know, your cousins are doing well, so you need to be sure that you do well. So there is some pressure, but it was never, it didn't feel like it was oppressive pressure. You know, I believe I was very fortunate. My parents were very young when they had me, and they had a lot of energy, and I do believe that they very much nurtured my free spirit and my desire for exploration and stuff. So I did get more liberties perhaps than some of my peers because of this.
What are some of the lessons you think that, or perhaps nuggets of life that you think that your parents handed down to you as, you know, as a growing child?
I feel like I sound like them these days because I'm always repeating things that, you know, my mom and dad will say to people. So, you know, my father always used to say to me, make hay while the sun shines, you know, and really what it means is whilst you're young, you work hard so that when you get older, you can relax and enjoy your harvest. And I took that quite literally, and that's what drives me to a large extent. So that's one of them, but there's many.
I'm sure that there are. But let's talk about education. What is your educational experience like?
According to my friends, I'm always studying. I feel like I have a real thirst for learning. I'm one of these people, if I see something and I like it, I want to learn how to do it well. So I will want to go and train to do it. Obviously the typical, so primary school, secondary school, I attended probably about 3 or 4 universities over the years pursuing nursing. I did some training to do prescribing, I did some training to do therapy, I did some training in healthcare innovation, and more recently I completed a master's in relation to autism and learning disabilities care, and it's something that I was really proud about doing because it was a passion area for me.
What we're going to do now is see that child that is now the woman that is before us right now. So let's take a look at how Adanna Williams, who is here with us, began as a child. Here's the Seed to Oak segment. You have just seen a summary of Adanna's life in pictures. She'll tell us a bit more about that in a moment. But just a quick reminder that the PL show is brought to you by the Kel toothpaste brand. And I'll tell you about Kel Kids, which is suitable for your 2 to 6 year olds. And it comes in the strawberry flavor, which your kids will love, I believe. It's FDA approved. You wouldn't have to worry about the quality. Now let's talk to Adanna about the pictures that we have seen. Those are some pictures that have been turned into videos of you that we saw on the screens from when you were 9.
9 and 3, and my mom will see that and she'll smile.
and that was your mom too, right? Yes. So tell us about your mother.
My mom is somebody who inspires my flair for fashion and my love of people. My mom is what we call in Trinidad, she's a bit of a salt fish. So salt fish is one of our dishes that everybody likes to have, and it goes well with most things. So she's one of those people where you meet her, you love her, she's very giving, she's very helpful and caring and fun loving. So I get that side from my mom.
The very last picture was when you had just returned from
Yes.
work from home mood.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us about what you were doing during COVID.
I had said I wanted to get involved in doing something for our colleagues at one point in COVID, because all of my career was focused on patient care and doing things for patients. And I felt like my colleagues were working really hard and I wanted to do something for them. So my initial role during the COVID period was working to develop well-being and resilience offers for those who work in the NHS and our ambulance services. And so what it involved procuring and designing some of those services to deliver for that. And then I was subsequently asked to lead one of the teams that were involved in getting the vaccination out to those that needed it. So I was one of 4 national program leads for the COVID vaccination. And it was a true privilege to be a part of that program, given how many lives it saved. And actually, there was nothing like it. It was historic. So we went from production to delivery in such a short space of time, which shows you how far we've come as healthcare professionals and in the health world.
We saw how badly hit England was.
Yes.
How hectic was the job at that time?
Oh my, very long hours, very long hours. I was working 7-day weeks at times during that December period, because we delivered the first vaccine on December the 8th, and it really was non-stop during that time. But you know, everybody was doing it out of love, care and passion. The hours just flitted by because you didn't even notice, because you were there with a purpose.
How did you deal with your burnout? How did you take care of yourself? Because it was a lot.
You know, the thing is, there was a camaraderie amongst colleagues that definitely prevented that. So we really looked after each other during that time, and there was a lot of people checking in, and it really showed the good side of humanity, because there were a number of companies who were donating things to those of us who were involved, and you know, like they would come and bring food or bring different things or offer discounts and stuff. So and then just for each other, that checking is what really helped.
You've been with the NHS for a while now. You've gathered a wealth of experience from there. But I just want us to take it far back to when you did your nursing.
Yes.
What did you do immediately after school then?
After school, I spent some time in the US, and then I came back to the UK and went to do my nurse training. So originally I thought, okay, I was going to be a psychologist. Then I decided I wanted to do nursing because I felt like I loved being with people. I loved the hands-on aspect of it. And I had a really good tutor at the time for my A-levels. And she said to me, I think you'll make a really great nurse, so you should consider it. So I went into psychiatric nursing, and that's where I got my first proper start in the NHS.
Why psychiatric nursing?
I've always had an interest in human behavior, and certainly for us in the Caribbean, which I'm sure perhaps there are some similarities here in Africa, there's a lot of stigma attached to those with mental health disorders. And for me, it was important to get that knowledge and understanding, given the fact that I did have some members of my family who suffered with mental illness and struggled with getting the right type of care. So it meant a lot to me to get involved.
At what point did you move from the hands-on nurse to where the position you occupy now?
I have been with NHS England now for over 4 years. And my last clinical role would have been probably about 5 years ago. And that time I transitioned in different ways. So it has always been psychiatric nursing, but for a part of my career, I did focus on comorbidity. So that is looking at mental illness, but also looking at physical health as well, and some of the interlinks between both.
You're deputy director for the Autism and Learning Disabilities Program,
That's
Southeast
correct.
region.
Yes.
That sounds a lot like a lot of work. Tell us about that.
So back in 2015, our NHS decided to invest in transforming the care of those with autism or learning disabilities or both. And this stemmed from a recognition that perhaps they were quite underserved in our community, and there weren't a lot of specialist services that provided care to improve those lives based on a number of tragedies. And what we wanted to do was create services that were bespoke, that would help improve their health holistically. So it's looking at psychological health, looking at physical care, and also for those with specific specialist needs, providing some intervention to help improve that. So it was a whole campaign of change that originally started with a 5-year period, and then it was subsequently extended to cover our long-term plan, which is a 10-year focus. So this is what we're working through now. So we are bringing people closer to home, educating and helping those that understand about the needs of those with autism and learning disabilities, and also giving opportunities for empowerment and improved lives. So it's wonderful.
Let's talk about autism.
Yes.
What is it?
It's a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it can happen to anybody. And there are different types of autism. And this is why it's called autism spectrum disorder. So you can have varying degrees of complexity with your needs when it happens. So for example, you could have somebody who is quite high functioning, and this is the type of autism that is familiar to most people, which is Asperger's syndrome, where sometimes you find people have specific things that they're great at. So they might be genius at numbers, genius at music and other things, but perhaps have some deficits in different aspects of their life, down to the person who may have so much complex need that they require an intensive level of support and might present with some behaviors that challenge as well. So it's a whole range.
How would you know that you have autism?
I believe you would recognize it by there may be missed steps in developmental milestones. So as a parent, once you have a child, there is an expectation as they grow that they start doing certain things. Your child might respond to you in a particular way, and you may notice there's an absence of that, because sometimes those who have autism may not have that emotional interaction that you would be used to seeing. So from a very early age, you can start seeing some evidence of potential challenges or differences with the way that a child is growing. Even how they learn certain things might be different.
Can adults also be diagnosed with autism?
Yes, as a matter of fact, many people get diagnosed quite late in life because their behaviors may have been misinterpreted or misunderstood. And for example, girls in particular are the ones that tend to get diagnosed later because they're quite skilled at masking some of those symptomologies, and it can be perceived sometimes as, you know, typical teenage angst, or they may be misdiagnosed as having depression or other illnesses, and not recognition. There may not be a recognition that it is an autism diagnosis that might require a different intervention.
Are there some people who are more at risk of getting autism, or
No.
what is it like?
It is not a respecter of persons. Anybody can get autism. And also, I would like to say, because I know from my heritage that there are many stigmas and beliefs associated with illness in general, but also in particular mental illness and some of these neurodevelopmental disorders. I know growing up, a lot of people who would say things like, oh, you know, God has forsaken me, my child has this, or why has this happened to me? Or they might feel that they're cursed. No, it's not a curse. This has happened, and there are ways to manage it. And the key to that is early recognition, getting that diagnosis, the right kind of support, and more than anything, this is where that old adage about the village raising a child comes to the fore. Because if you are a parent with a child with those additional needs, you need all the support that is available to you.
How do you think we can demystify, autism so that it reduces the stigmatization?
I believe the key to that is education, which is one of the approaches that we are using in the UK, helping people understand the experience of those with autism and how they can support them to function at a more optimal level in society and how they can achieve their full potential. When you see the difference between somebody that has the right kind of support and how they can flourish, it really shows you the value of having that specialist support. And I understand that in Ghana, there is now a focus on improving the services for those with that diagnosis, and I am delighted to hear that.
For some parents, the fear is that you're being told that your child has autism, but sometimes it may not be autism, but you wouldn't know until you get tested. It could be some other learning disabilities.
Exactly. So it's really important to see a doctor, get to the bottom of what is happening and understand what the experience is for your child, because every child is unique and how their challenges and needs and wants might manifest may be different. So what you want to do is to ensure that you get the diagnosis right, you get an understanding of what your child needs may be, because some of those needs might be sensory, some of those needs might be related to their diet, some of those needs might be related to how you need to interact with them. Some of our children and young people may have challenges with communication. So you need to be clear on what your child requires to achieve their full potential and design a package of care and support to suit that.
So if I'm a parent or guardian of a child who's still growing, at what point do I say that, okay, we should get you tested for, the autism spectrum?
Sometimes you could see evidence of it as early as 2 and 3. Mothers tend to have that instinct, and of course, as we've been around other young children, you also know if you're discussing with your healthcare providers. Now, I'm not sure about what the system is like in Ghana, but in the UK, you would have health visitors that will interact with you, give you some expectations of what those developmental milestones may be. So if you're realizing that your child isn't meeting those, then that might be the point to do some investigation. Also, as I say to my mother every day, the internet is not just for Facebook. So you can go online and do some research. As a matter of fact, there is a researcher who is in Ghana. He is of Ghana heritage. I believe is Yani something. Don't ask me his full name. However, he has done a lot of empirical research more recently on resilience and research on diagnostic testing and other things specific to Ghanaian people. So the information is there.
I want us to talk about your involvement in charity.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
My passions. So I mentor a lot of people, and I also have an aunt who I'm very proud of. She is a breast cancer survivor, and she has a charity in Trinidad and Tobago where every year she has a number of events where we call it edutainment. So we raise awareness about breast cancer, but we also use that platform to raise awareness about how breast cancer and prostate cancer affects men, to make sure that people are doing the checks, because it's one of those cancers that if you identify early, your prognosis and outcomes is good. So we try to give back in that way. And there are other charities in the UK that I do tend to get involved, but I'm also one of these people that just likes helping. So if somebody asks and I have the time, I will join in.
Great. And I did say that we have a surprise for you. That is just surprise number 1, and it's on the screen. So let's take a look.
Hannah!
Who is Hannah to you?
Hannah is my very dear friend that I spoke of earlier, who we met through her wonderful son, Rex.
Thank you so much for agreeing to help us surprise Adanna here. So tell us about your relationship with Adanna.
I have my son who is disabled who got into crisis. And the situation was so complex that they had to escalate to somebody on the top. And it happened to get to Adanna. And honestly, the way she managed such a complex situation, it ended up being one of the most successful in the whole UK. I really owe my son, my family, and everything to the hard work that Adanna has and her expertise. She's such an amazing lady. I'm really, really honored to have got to know her.
How does it make you feel hear that?
She's she's gonna make me cry. I love Hannah and her family, she knows. What's interesting about her situation is I was just doing my job, you know. Thank you. What felt right and what was needed at the time. She was in distress and they needed a solution, and you know, I just went into action.
So Hannah, outside of work, what can you tell us? I mean, snitch on her a little.
She's my sister from a different mother. One of the things Adanna always says, she thinks her roots are from Ghana. Yeah. And I do believe it because we just clicked when we just met. Her intelligence and her humility is something that I find really, really humbling. And that's what I say. She is such an amazing lady. I keep saying that she solves the problems of the whole country, but she's also the same person that is very humble.
God bless you. That's such a nice thing to say.
Is there something you want to say to Hannah right now?
I say to you all the time that it's been, I know God has put you in my life, you know, and what came from such a traumatic situation for Rex, it has helped to change the life of so many people. And I say to Hannah all the time, because she's talking about me, but she's not sharing some of the great things that she does to help others and families and to teach and to educate. And in the same way she calls on me, I often call on her to show other families how they can make their children and their loved ones' lives better. And she has never, ever said no. Nothing is ever too much. And I aspire to be like her.
That's really lovely to hear that, you know, I mean, this is a platform for women, helping women.
Yes.
And it's very instructive to hear you guys talk like this, you two talk like this. Thank you so much, Hannah, for pitching into the show and giving us this wonderful surprise for Adanna. And for me, listening to Hannah again, she brings to the fore your people skills. Oh. And when you were talking, you said, I check on my people. I want to know the well-being of my people. Why is that so important to you as a leader?
Because if your team is not happy, if they're not at peace, then you're not going to get the best out of them. And I also had those who were my seniors who perhaps didn't check in on me quite as much. And I feel like if evidence of good leadership is when those who are around you feel safe, and when those who are around you go on to progress to other things. So I'm very big on self-improvement. So I always encourage my teams to continue to train, continue to learn, and I leave room for that to happen. So it's important to me to have that.
If you were to say something to young people out there right now who are watching us,
yes,
what would those things be that you would say to them?
I would say that it doesn't matter where you come from, everybody has something to offer. I grew up in a village for the most part and felt that I wanted to do better and was determined to do so and had that thirst for knowledge. You are young, you have energy, use that energy for good. Go and approach those who are doing things that you believe you would like to do and understand from them what was their path to get there, because that's what I did. So anybody I saw doing something that I liked or I believed I'm interested in, I went with a curious mind. So retain your curiosity. Nothing is impossible. And it doesn't matter where you are starting from. Where you start isn't the issue, and it doesn't determine where you will be.
We've been talking to Adanna Williams. She is a healthcare professional with NHS in England. The PL Show will take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Brush, 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 brush your teeth. Brush, 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 2 times a day. Brush with Kel-Kit.
Hello, my friends. My name is Kel-Kit's toothpaste. I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky chicky whiter, chicky chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kel-Kits. Happy smile.
Welcome back. This is the PL show with me, Keminni, Amanor. My guest tonight is Adanna Williams, a healthcare professional with the NHS in England. Right now, let's talk to Adanna about things she does for fun besides helping people in healthcare. You told me that if you were not in healthcare, fashion would have been the real thing for you.
Yes.
So talk to us about your love for fashion and what you do with your clothes.
Oh, I love clothes. I love seeing people look amazing. And if I wasn't in healthcare, I would be designing my own fashion label. So in my spare time, I tend to do a little bit of sewing here and there. And I also like to customize some of my clothing as well, just to give it a little bit of a unique flair.
Here's Adanna in the DIY segment. What you just saw are things that Adanna does for herself. What we do here when you come on the show is that we give you packages and presents, and this is the first one. So this is from our sponsors, and we'll do the symbolic give and take. I'll touch in giving you, and then you touch in receiving.
Thank you.
On another note, this is also bribery for you to make sure you're staying in Ghana or you're moving to Ghana, which is something you want to do.
Yes.
Talk to us about why you want to move to Ghana.
I said, as I came, I felt an affinity to Ghana. I feel like I can settle here, I can blossom here, and also critical is the work-life balance that some people enjoy. And I really feel like I would like to bring some of what I have learned here to Africa and help improve the healthcare systems here. So if I were afforded that opportunity, I would I'd be here in a heartbeat. There would be no question.
Do you have a plan yet?
Well, I'm working on it. I believe the challenge is trying to understand the system, and I'm also conscious that, you know, if I am coming, I feel I need to learn some of the languages as well. I think that would definitely help me. But I believe my plan has to be around networking and maybe understanding where I would fit.
My next surprise for you is this. This is a stool that we give to the powerful women who come here. And that's why we call you now, because you're now a queen here.
Oh, thank you.
So from me to you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. This is beautiful. This will look
welcome.
Wonderful at home amongst my wonderful plants.
Yes. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. I had a great conversation with you. And anytime I meet women who are doing great things, I myself am inspired to do better for myself. So great talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a wonderful platform that you've created here. And I feel so privileged to have shared the stage with you. So thank you.
And you out there, I hope that you have learned a thing or two. I hope that you have also learned something that inspires you to do better in whatever endeavor you're taking right now. My name is Keminni Amanor, and this is the PL Show.
So your love is sweet, oh.
Odona kama commemorate. Paint, smiling, mami, chanche, faint. Kron kron vera.